Welcome to the Red Death Mask stream. We are back once again. Soon, sooner than I thought. Ugh. Today we got a few stories. They're all relatively short though, so I don't know if we'll just get through them quick or if I will add some more on at the end. Headphone thing right now. Let's double check and make sure my audio's coming through. Yep. Okay. Cool. Now let's do this. I'm on headphones. Alright. Yeah, today we're gonna read several stories. We've got the first one is called Twins from Affectionate Leave 677. The next one is gonna be Mother's Web. My mother is 3 shacks tall from Intrepid Sprite. And then this is a post that somebody posted directly onto the Calling All Authors post on Tales from the Creeps. I don't know if it's part of a series or what, but they posted it directly on, and I just figured I'd rather read it sooner rather than later. Even though they didn't post a link like I told them to, but who knows, that might be part of the format they're trying to do, so I won't hold it against them. And I added this one to the description last stream, and then I think I passed over it. So, God, my headphones are driving me crazy. Anyways, so yeah, we have that, and then we have which is The Earth Stopped Now My Cat Won't Stop Floating is the title of that, from Thin Blueberry 4398. And then we have another couple short ones from Harold Sleeper 000, as well as kind of this longer one from Harold Sleeper. So this one's called The Masterpiece. Still not like long by any means, but longer. And then have you seen Robert Sampson? So that's what we've got on the docket today. Should be a fun time. But first off, I want to say thank you to Affectionate Leave for the awesome thumbnail. Here, let's see if I can just pull it up on YouTube. Cause yeah, I thought I had maybe read one of his stories, but I think I got that Reddit user confused with one of the other ones I just did recently. Yeah, but they made this here. I need to mute it. They made this badass thumbnail, here for me. Here, I should have kept the images open, but let's do that. It's in here. I know it's in here. Yeah, they made this badass thumbnail, and I'm just so appreciative of the amount of people who have reached out to me, said thank you for reading their stories, but also now I've had multiple people offer to make art. Affectionate Leave, he just made it, for no reason, just because he wanted to say thank you. He appreciated what I was doing, and it's just so sick. I mean, it has Boots's original design still pretty pretty, prevalent in it, but then it's also, his own thing. And I think the font's really cool. I love the metal font, and you know, the tongue, and the comedy and tragedy masks. It's just badass, and it's like, I thought there would be some people to who would support my channel or whatever else, but I never thought I would have people making me such cool art this early on, and I'm just kind of blown away by it and humbled and grateful. So, check out Affectionate Leave. It looks like he does this art all for um, his stories, and it's really cool. And last week, or on my last two streams, I had a Intrepid Sprite. He made like the deep, basically makes, he has this really kind of unique style in his art. It's like, I would call it like deep fried meme style, like this stuff. And he makes art for stories. He makes people, like, he does a lot of Creepcast art. Obviously, this was the one he made for me, and it's just really cool. It's like really it's really unique, and kind, just funny and weird, and I can appreciate it. Um, yeah, like this one, super funny. Um, but yeah, it's cool of him to, he's offering to, like, just make art for stories, and you know, uh I don't know if he just makes it and then sends it off, or if, he takes requests or whatever, but yeah, it's super awesome, the amount of people who, you know, are subscribing and supporting my channel, early on, even with only 50 subscribers. That might sound like not that much, but to me, that's my channel's doing great. I remember and I didn't stream on Twitch at all regularly, but I was streaming for, at least I had an account for a few years, and I was only at 45 followers. And more importantly, I never uh, had any sense of like repeat viewers, or like people, there were a few people who like would stop by a stream that maybe I knew from somewhere else or some other community or something, but I never got a sense that people wanted to watch my streams, like, every time I streamed or whatever. Sorry. And yeah, now I'm getting that, people are telling me that they are enjoying the stream, and appreciate what I'm doing for the writing community, the writing Creepcast community. And all I can say back is that, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your support, and your comments, and your messages, on Reddit, and just everywhere. It's always a highlight of my day, just messaging with somebody about their story that I read, or one that they want me to read. What I love the most is after I stream, and then people um kind of answer maybe the questions that I had about the story, or they kind of respond to my thoughts about the story, and we just get to have a nice little like back and forth, discussing it a little bit more, or um, sharing where maybe stories are going to go in the future, or stuff like that. And it's really fun to like even in that small way to collaborate. It it makes me feel even on a day where like I don't stream or I don't do anything that I'm passionate about or am not really productive in any way that like feeds my creative side. It it feeds my soul and on those days, and so it's just super cool, and I'm very appreciative from the bottom of my heart for all the support, so I just wanted to say that. I wanted to shout out these two artists, both Affectionate Leave 677 and Intrepid Sprite 9368 because yeah, I think that supporting, small authors and small creators like me is a super, super nice thing and something that, people certainly don't have to do, and they don't have to uh go out of their way to make like this badass art and stuff. So I just wanted to shout them out at the beginning of the stream. And then also, if anyone has any ideas, I wanted to say specifically because I'm trying to like pick out channel colors, right? Obviously my color is, or obviously Red Death Mask, just as a channel name, you you've got to figure I got to have red in my for some of my channel color, but I'm also just, I'm trying to decide. I like cobalt blue or like electric blue a lot too. I also like just really any bright like pastel color usually. And so yeah, I'm trying to think of like, two or three colors that I could maybe get the logo uh not like redrawn in, but maybe just have a different colors, so it's not just red everything all the time. But anyways, yeah, it's just something I was thinking about. And then another thing I wanted to talk about briefly before I start reading stories is let's see. Yeah, it's I guess I'll just go to the Creepcast subreddit real quick. I don't know if I'll be able to find find any of these comments, but I've seen comments recently, like or posts, multiple posts about people being like, uh, I remember this one episode where like X, Y, and Z happens, and some of the times they're thinking of an episode that I know, but I've seen a few recently where people are bringing it up, and it's at least from what I briefly saw when I read it or skimmed it, it's not an episode that I've seen before, heard before. So I guess my question to people is in the, you know, is are there any lost episodes? Like I know some episodes maybe got like removed or had to be changed or edited or something, for one reason or another, but are there any episodes that because maybe during the infancy of the podcast in particular, I've been a listener since day one, but maybe in the beginning there were, some episodes that like got taken down that I kind of missed and I never realized. So I'm just wondering if anyone has any info on that because, yeah, I would like to know, and I would like them to post them on on Patreon if they haven't, if even if it's an older episode, because yeah, it I was like I thought I had seen every single episode, so I don't know. I just it was weird reading about people's posts where they're like, I have a specific memory of this episode where X, Y, and Z happens in the story. And it's something I've never heard about before, you know? Yeah. No, yeah, and I know that, and I'm Patreon subscribed, so, and I've seen everything they posted on Patreon, so maybe people are just confused, or they're they're changing story, they're remembering some other creepy pasta that they've read in the past, and then being like, was that a Creepcast episode? Because I could see how that could happen, or especially if you've like listened to a book on tape or something, you know, uh, audiobook, and then yeah, you are like, wait, was that Creepcast? And it actually wasn't. So yeah, that's what I thought. Harold, Sleeper. You know, I was pretty sure. I was like, I don't think there's any lost episodes. But people are funny, and so anyways, good to have you here, Harold. So yeah, let's get started with twins, because I'm kind of ready to rock and roll here. Let's see. Let me know if the music's too loud. Twins by Affectionate Leave 677. You are always throwing fits. I tried sharing my toys with you, but it was never enough. You had to have everything. You had to have everything. You could be such a selfish baby sometimes. If I could talk and you could understand me, I'd have a lot to say. If I could talk and you could understand me, I'd have a lot to say. You are 10 minutes older, but it feels like I'm the real big brother. Get my headphones to calm down, to work. But it feels like I'm the real big brother. I miss the old days, floating around together as one, sleeping the months away. We didn't have to be fed or have our diapers changed. You were so much quieter back then. I miss that the most. You are always crying now. How could two of the same be so different? It didn't take much to entertain me. I liked crawling around, exploring. I could even take a few steps before getting tired. But you had to be held. You needed constant attention. Like you were jealous of having to share your mommy with me. Well, you can have her. There we were, fighting over the stuffed animal. You only wanted it because I had it. I didn't really care about I didn't really care about the thing, but I wasn't going to let you have it. It was the principle. If I let you take that bear, what would come next? You can't always have your way. I learned that early on. Maybe you ought to catch up, big brother. Maybe it's time you stop acting like a 5-year-old. Like a 5-day-old, sorry. I was gonna say, I think, yeah, like a 5-day-old. So, pause right here. So, what are we thinking? At least me, I'm thinking these twin babies are like maybe a month old. I don't know. Well, he said he was walking though, so I don't know. if he could have taken a few steps, then they must be, yeah, they must be at least like, you know, I forget when babies start walking, but more than a month old for sure. um you stop acting like a 5-day-old, you'd eventually give up, bawling your eyes out to mommy like a little brat. Now, honey, that's not yours. You have your own toys to play with, Mom said, as if you could comprehend. Even though you didn't understand the words, one thing was certain. You weren't getting your way. Not this time. That made your blood boil, and you began planning your revenge. But what you didn't know was that I could always tell what you were feeling. Anyone could see your simple emotions scribbled across that predictable face. But I could sense the yeah. Your simple emotion scribbled across that predictable face, but I could sense the complicated ones beneath. I could feel your torment, taste your hatred on my tongue, as if it were my own. Even if you didn't yet grasp the feeling, I did. Your primitive thoughts scrambled in your head, straining to connect, to form ideas. I saw them too, but I could sort them out. I was always 2 steps ahead of you, and you couldn't even walk. I'll admit, it caught me off guard. The clash of soft skulls bouncing off one another, the cleverly placed toy car my clumsy legs were bound to trip over. You must have been jealous that I could walk, and you used it against me. I have to hand it to you. You really do have mommy wrapped around your fat little finger. A solid plan indeed. You knew I wouldn't cry. I wasn't the fussy one. And Mom, she knew I wouldn't scream. Even if the only thing to cheer you up was that stuffed bear. She tore it from my hands and gave it to you. I didn't protest. The matching bump on my head throbbed. You kept a good act going. I might have believed it was an accident. Maybe even thought the trip was my fault if I hadn't seen your black heart grin. I'm interested right now in if this is if our twin, the twin who's narrating, if this is actually all projection and he's just the evil one. Because I do think that, I mean, it's clear that there's like this resentment building up, right? Like from the day they were born, pretty much. And so I feel like maybe he's just projecting and saying like, you know, I knew it was malicious and all this stuff, when really it's like, well, he thinks that because he's the malicious one, you know what I mean? And the other twin's just a baby, like, whereas this one's the evil genius baby. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to think about though, because yeah, if they are twins and, you know, they're exact copies of each other, but it's interesting to think like one, you know, one's crying, doing all the normal things a baby would do, then the other's like really quiet and agreeable, but that's because he, you know, has this like way advanced intelligence, and he's just perceiving all the stuff that a selfish little, because I think even if you're a twin, you're still, you know, you're still a little baby who is gonna cry for his mom, and when the mom comes over to the crib and picks the other baby up first or more often, or whatever, I think both babies, like, would obviously be upset by that or cry the same way, whereas this baby obviously has some sort of reader supernatural intelligence that, like, makes him, whatever, makes him more easygoing, but that's just on the surface, and then underneath it he's like, you son of a bitch, you took my bear, or whatever. I'm gonna get you back when, yeah, like, it doesn't seem like, he says he knows that it was a plan to trip him and he saw his evil smile, but I'm like, I don't know. Maybe they both are evil geniuses, both the babies, but I think it's just as likely that it's only one, you know. And he's projecting that because he's so smart, this other baby must be so smart and must be so calculating. But I don't know. We'll see. Let's keep reading. If I hadn't seen your black heart grin. That's putting our heads together. Maybe you know more than you let on, big brother. Maybe you can read me like I read you. Feel this grudge take root. Maybe you could even learn to be just like me if I gave you a little push. You buried your tear-soaked face into Mommy's shoulder, head throbbing in sync with mine. I sat alone, stripped of my possessions. I'm sick of having another me around, we silently told one another. Mom loved you more, and I didn't care. The days crawl by. The abandoned stuffed bear rots in the corner of the room, a trophy of maternal favor, a totem of sibling spite. You expect me to take it back, hand you another victory, but I've moved on. I don't want the creature, and neither do you. No, I was going to take something else, the one thing you truly valued. I was going to take your mommy. Oh shit. We got a Stewie Griffin. He's trying to kill Lois. She hasn't stopped crying since your little mishap. Of course, everyone assumes it was just a neglectful mother, not keeping a close eye. She looks at me different now. The way she studies my face sometimes. Oh, the way she studies my face. Sometimes I think she knows. Maybe she believes it's her fault, and maybe it is. I hope she thinks you threw yourself down the stairs on purpose just to get her attention. She can hardly look at me. All she sees is you. I thought it would be quiet again once we got rid of you. But she cries in your place. And you're louder than ever. Your tears are stubborn sometimes. They even leak from your eyes. Together again. Don't cry, little brother. What's the matter? What do we want? I think we liked it better inside her. Mommy, warm, safe, silent. I think you're right. I think we'll go back in. Well, it's certainly a very creepy, character, like, piece, whatever, about I like the idea of two twins in any story. I think twins are always fun, but then like the idea of one whatever resenting the other, and then I was gonna see. I really like how you played with the POV. I liked how you played with the evil twin trope. Ending is a bit odd because they're like 3 months old, right? IDK me getting lost near the end. In any case, I really like the story. Um, yeah, it seems a little experimental, but I think it's cool, and I think there are a lot of stories that do this where they kind of put the narrator is kind of the killer, and but to have it be babies, I think is especially kind of haunting, right? Um, I think there are some people who would just like go, well, everyone's born good, or it's the whole nature versus nurture thing, and this story really kind of throws that argument on its head because you have two twins, one maybe being the one who's not the narrator, maybe being kind of needy or bad, but not even really because he's a baby. So like you have to just assume that one is normal, but then this other one is like so uncaring and so completely like just callous, and like even when it comes to the toy, he's like, I don't want you to have it because it's mine, and I don't care about it, but morning Sully. I don't care about it, but I just don't want you to have it because you shouldn't get to have everything. That's not fair. And so he, in that way, it's like he kind of just like defines himself, or he becomes evil specifically to punish the other brother for being like selfish, right? But then at the same time, you're like, well, he's a fucking baby, so a baby doesn't know any better, but apparently you do. Um, but then I thought he killed his brother, is what it said with the whole stairs thing. But then I was a little confused by your tears are stubborn. Sometimes they even leak from my eyes. Okay, so you're louder than ever. Okay, I see. So I think he is gone. All she sees is you. I thought it would be quiet once we got rid of you, but she cries in your place, and you're louder than ever. Your tears are stubborn. Sometimes they even leak from my eyes. Together again. So kind of saying that almost like now the personalities of the two twins have merged now that one has died, and then it just says, don't cry, little brother, what's the matter, what do we want? I think we liked it better inside her, mommy, warm, safe, silent. I think you're right. I think we'll go back in, which is just a really creepy ending. I mean, does that mean he's going to kill the mother and like slit her open and crawl inside her stomach? Is it gonna be some sort of unbirthing ritual? I don't know. It's a creepy ending though. I liked the ending. I was a little confused, but I think that's just because I read it wrong the first read through. It's super cool. I like an evil baby is an interesting idea, and especially, yeah, I just think twins are creepy. I think it just goes back to kind of that Shining thing, um, where they have the twins hallway or whatever, the girls. but then also too, it's like if you have twins doing stuff, it's like everyday stuff can just become fascinating, you know. Um, when like twins are involved, whether that's like, you know, oh well, one, they both like it's all the experiments where they separated twins at birth and stuff, and then they saw that like some twins got the same job, or all sorts of stuff. Like, yeah, it's just it's fun. It's a fun concept for just a really short story, but then now you almost kind of wonder, is since this one twin killed his younger brother at such an early age, um and then he's saying we at the end, so now is he getting some kind of split personality where he, will start to um be really moody and upset sometimes, and then other times he'll be cold and detached, and I think that's the makings of like we have an origin story right here for a creepy, serial killer, who maybe he finds twins, and like, if he doesn't kill one of them, maybe he tries to like, I don't know, punish their mothers, or punish, whatever it could be. It could be a lot of things, but I kind of like the idea of a serial killer who was a twin, who kills his twin, and then because of that he but then at the end he kind of accepts his twin brother as part of him, and then so because of that he goes on, killing sup rude dude. He goes on killing pairs of twins, and saying that he's gonna help them join together, and really, trying he's just trying to repeat kind of what happened to him, or what he did to himself. I'm good, man. I'm good. Just reading some short stories here today. Um, yeah, none of them are really that long, but I figured I'd do a little um Monday morning stream. Get some of these stories. Uh, uh, you know, I'm you guys will see what I said at the start of the stream, but I'm just super appreciative to sorry, affectionate leave and intrepid sprite, because they both done fan art for me. The thumbnail today, affectionate leave made that, and super awesome, obviously. So I wanted to read one of their stories, as well as intrepid intrepid sprite. I haven't read any of their stuff yet, but they have this name, Mother's Web. My mother is 3 shacks tall. Um, which is funny. I'm wondering if it's going to be kind of a comedy story. I think it might be. So that always, comedy horror always gets me, perks me up, because horror is not always meant to be horrifying, in my opinion. I think what kept me away from horror for a long time, yeah, yeah, exactly, Sully. Yeah, gotta read some short stories sometimes. Short doesn't always mean bad, and long doesn't always mean good. Yeah, and that's kind of what I want to tell people, because it's like, so, a lot of these stories that I've gotten submitted, they're like, yeah, it's my first story. It's this is part one of 20 parts, and I'm like, God damn. And I just, who know, like, that for that specific post, I'm like, who knows, it might be great. but I know how I was as a writer and how I still am as a writer, and I'm like, to me that just seems like biting off so much for your first jab at it that I'm just like amazed that people do that. I think it's probably more of a commentary though on my own, maybe not failures, but like my own weak parts as a writer that I'm like, I just I just am always like in awe and shocked that people write their first story and make it a multi part, But oh well, but yeah, now let's get into Mother's Web. My mother's 3 shacks tall. Um, but yeah, I'm doing good. I've got 50 subscribers now, so that's great. I'm doing awesome, rude dude, and I hope you're doing well too, my main man. I I don't know if you saw the episode, rude dude, that I did with Professor Creepin, but I want to have I want to do, if not a live stream with you. I'd like to just get on a Discord call sometime because you've always been a long time viewer of my streams, But I'd like to you know read some stories together if you want, or collaborate in some way. Yeah, it's growing, dude. It's been a big couple of weeks or a big month for me. I think, well, I know it has to do with, I don't know, did you see this post, rude dude, in the new Tales from the Creep? But I posted this calling all authors. I did another open call for stories. And it's got 128 comments right now, and it keeps growing. I've got this document with a ton of links to stories, and it just people keep adding more. Like this one was added today, 12 hours ago. Mr. J's workshop. I died today. Collection of my stories from Mr. J's work. It's an ongoing series with 2 parts so far. A third on the way. Uh, yeah. Anyways, my point is, I'm just blown away by the amount of people who are letting me read their stories, and the talent is always, as always, pretty insane. And I remember writing my first horror story. It was called Session, and it's extremely bad. I decided not to post it because it's like Jeff the Killer levels of bad. I think what you meant to say, Sully, is that you decided to post it because if it's Jeff the Killer levels of bad, that means people need to read it. That's awesome. That might be a that might be a classic creepypasta you have there that you're depriving the world of. But I can understand not wanting to share your personal cringe with the world. It's different when it's you. When it's someone else. It's easy to just enjoy and laugh and whatever. But when it's your stuff, it's decidedly a lot harder to put yourself out there like that. So I get it. Understandable. Either way, we'll be honored if you ever do post it, but no biggie. Yeah, well, me and Professor Creepin, we collaborated for that was before I did that post, cuz that post isn't that old, but me and Professor Creepin, we read my story, and that was a lot of fun, and we just got to talk. Like that's the other reason I want to Discord call with you, rude dude, or just have you on a live stream is just because we just got to talk about Creepcast and writing, and it was a lot of fun. And I just enjoyed, the camaraderie of talking to other Creepcast fans. I think are fun because I don't know, I know one other person that's like a Papa Meat fan in real life in the wild, but I don't know any Creepcast fans like in my life, so I don't have anyone to talk about the show with about other than online. So, oh, he says screw it, I'll post it. Yeah, do it. Let's see the cringe, dude. Let's get the full dose of cringe. I'm here for it. I will, post it, send it to me. I'm here for it. Or actually, I think because you have a channel where you read stories, I think you should read it yourself because there's not a lot of people who will stand by their cringe, who will like I wrote this, I know it's bad and I know it's cringe and if you do that, I think people will have a lot of respect for that cuz of course Jeff the Killer is anonymous or of course like these other stories that people post that they're like, it was the first story I ever wrote. It was in, middle school or blah, blah, blah. They always delete them afterward. They always, they always have second thoughts. So I would personally like and watch the video if you did a video where you were reading them and you just like titled it like, my for, the title is like obsession my first really cringe whatever uh story, or the story I wrote when I was 13 or whatever. Uh, sorry, I ate fucking had some teriyaki chicken tonight, but it's like I've never had something that gives me this bad of like acid reflux, I guess. So it's just sitting right here feels like I'm gonna burp or puke all at once, but that's okay. Let's get on to it. Let's get on with it. I've got a colleague to I don't know. Nice. Yeah, that would be nice. I would love if somebody at my work but thanks, man. Yeah, I think it'd be cool. Yeah, I'll message you on Discord, rude dude. We'll talk about it more. But let's get into Mother's Web. My mother is 3 shacks tall. Content warning: self harm, not excessive. Okay, that's nice. Domestic abuse, excessive. I love those tags. That's so funny. Domestic abuse, excessive. Self harm, don't worry, not excessive. The domestic abuse, excessive. Uh, you might not believe me, but my mother is 3 shacks tall. Let me clarify. My mother, the most loving woman in the world, is about 21 feet tall. I know this measurement isn't exactly accurate to 3 shacks tall. I was gonna say Shaq is what is it? Yao Ming is 7'5". Yao Ming is 7'5". I think maybe Shaq is 7'3", or maybe seven. I don't know. He's 7 feet tall. I know that, but yeah, for real. Um. So yeah, I mean that is 3 shacks tall. Where we did our math right. If she's 21 feet tall, then um, I mean she's obviously some sort of you know, a Nephilim giant, but it was the first. I know this measurement isn't exactly accurate to 3 shacks tall, but it was the first thing that came to mind when I thought of her. Unlike Shaq, my mother did not play hockey professionally to make a living. Um, I mean, he's being everyone knows Shaq's a basketball player, right? There's not one person that thinks he's a hockey player. I mean, clearly they don't know shit because hockey players are big, but they're not. Uh, a hockey player who is that tall would have a lot of trouble, like skating fast and digging in. Hockey players are big, but they have to be. They got to be fast too. I mean, I assume that's just a joke, but I kind of like to think that this person who's writing this story and heard the Shaq reference from the Creepcast episode just knows that Shaq's uh, an athlete, but they're just like, oh, I think he's a hockey player. I kind of like to imagine that they don't know that he's actually a basketball player. Uh, did not play hockey professionally to make a living. Instead, she was a seamstress. I didn't know what exactly my mother made, besides the stuff she had given me, but I knew she only created clothes with silk. Oh, okay, she's a giant, like, spider woman something, right? Don't spiders? Well, worms make silk too, I know. I don't know. Anyways, my point is, yeah, she's clearly a creature, right? And from this artwork up here, are we getting spider from this? I guess not. I don't know. Well, oh, but it's called Mother's Web. Okay, that's where I was like, where did I get spider from? I know that there was like a spider reference, but yeah, okay. That makes sense now. This must have been expensive, but Mother was unbelievably rich, so it wasn't a problem. Canadian shack, yeah. Mother's wealth was enough. Mother's wealth was enough to affect all of Antarctica. So do they live in Antarctica? The many settlements and cities had a ruler they didn't. Okay, I'm just gonna read and power through and hope that it makes sense because right now I'm kind of struggling. uh, zoom in. Mother's wealth was enough to affect all of Antarctica. The many settlements and cities had a ruler they didn't know about. Jack, one of my mother's clients, often requested clothes at unusual sizes. This wasn't a problem for Mother. She had even designed his jersey for the Antarctic icebergs. Okay, now this is just in a totally different dimension. Right now, they were losing poorly to the Australian Kangaroos in a game of hockey. Okay. Did it, do we think that the narrator is a spider too? Do we think that these are ice Antarctic spiders that have TVs? Because the next line says, cursing, I shut off the TV and leaned back into my fat. Yeah, okay. Mother's voice filled the room. Hey, hon, I heard you grumbling again. That's no good. Boys like you should be smiling and not frowning. Besides, Australia has more ice. They have more space to practice. Okay. Her smile made me crane my neck to see the full thing. It was so beautiful, almost unable to be described, so I won't even try. I frowned and replied, Australia might have more ice than Antarctica, but still, fuck those Aussie roos. Mother's presence disappeared from the room. A knock came from the door, and I got up to open it. I might have angered Mother with my language, but I knew she would forgive me. Her presence leaving was uncomfortable, to say the least. It felt like being in a thunderstorm without clothes, but I persevered because I am strong. Mother said so herself. My fat made it hard to move quickly, so I cut some off and threw it to the side. Climbing up the walls like spiders, my fat returned to the ceiling, which I couldn't see at the moment. So, are the this is very trippy to try to read, first of all. I'm just going to say that like I'm very I feel like I'm not comprehending, but I feel like when it partially is just because when I think the story zigs, it zags, and when I think I've got a beat on who someone or something is, it changes. My fat returned to the ceiling, which I couldn't see at the moment. Being without mother made me weak, but she wasn't truly gone. I was still in the house of mother. The cross on my door proved that. Opening the door, I saw my mom and immediately slammed the door shut. Its voice penetrated the door like an axe. Like an axe. Disrespectful shit. I give you everything you want, and you spit in my face. I heard it spitting and choking. Oh, fuck. I choked when spitting on your food. My face fell. I love my mother, but my mom was a okay, but my mom was a completely different story. So are mom and mother two different things? No, it's mother's web. My mother is 3 shacks tall. Mother, mother, mother. Again, I think I just have to power through. I don't think I'm gonna fully understand. Yeah, I like silly too. I like. Don't get me wrong. I'm enjoying it. It's just. It's more that I'm yeah. I'm not used to being this confused by like this early on in the story. So I feel like as a person who reads stories and reacts to them, I feel like it's my job to make sense of it. But I'm kind of just drawing a blank here. I loved mother. I loved my mother, but my mom was a completely different story. I think I think its hatred might stem from when I killed my sister, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, I had to say something back. Just leave it at the door, Mom. You know I can't see you. And I popped through my keyhole. I didn't see the eye on the other side of the door. Instead, it was on my side. Somehow, Mom squeezed its eye through the keyhole. A mouth appeared on the eye and said, "You're obviously lying. Tell me you can't see me now." The eye began growing arms and legs. I stopped dilly dallying and shoved the eye back through the keyhole. A shrill scream escaped its mouth, and I said, "No, Mom, I mean, if I see you, I'll die. It's very Lovecraftian indeed." I finished that sentence with a smirk. Mom started crying and said while laughing out of a different mouth, "You're such a fucking loser." H.P. Lovecraft. Okay. Mom started crying and said while laughing out of a different mouth, "You're such a fucking loser. H.P. Lovecraft was a terrible person. Do you really want to associate with him?" There was no winning with Mom. You could only lose worse. I like the art, not the artist. Also, he died 5 years ago, so it's not like I was supporting him by reading his stories. So when did H.P. Lovecraft die, I wonder? I mean, it would have had to have been because what he was writing in the 30s, right? So it's not like I was supporting him by reading his stories. Deciding to walk away from this bullshit, I returned to my chair. Banging resounded from the door, and my mom screamed, "Fine, return to your cave. Don't forget to eat, though. I don't want you to starve." I snorted and turned back to the TV. Its idea of a meal was snot and bacon. I hate bacon. I leave it outside and wait for a different meal to come. Yeah, yeah, okay. I was gonna say he probably died like, not even in the 40s, but nice. Um, I snorted and turned back to the TV. Its idea of a meal, or yeah, I hate bacon. I leave it outside and wait for a different meal to come. A fat spider crawled down the wall and merged with my body. This was not a big spider, but instead a spider made of fat. Yummy. As my stomach digested myself, Mother returned. She said, "I saw some trash outside your room. Do you want me to remove it?" I shrugged. "I don't really care what you do with it. You've already fed me, anyways." My mother looked down from the ceiling that was 21 feet high. Reaching down with 7 hands, each with 6 fingers, she caressed my cheek. "I'll throw it out, but are you sure you want to stay in this room forever?" Of course, I'd love nothing more, but it's okay if you want to see your mom. So, leaning back, I spoke without thinking. "It's a pale imitation of you, Mother. Besides, I have everything I could ever need here." Jack the hockey player dangled from the ceiling. A voice boomed, "Surprise, I got a gift for you." Jack fell and hit the floor. "Oops." I laughed and looked at Shaq. He was not in good condition, probably because he just fell 3 times his height. Also, neurotoxin didn't help, Mother's voice sung. "I know you always wanted a hockey player, so I thought I could get you the best one." "Oh, hi, Stella." Uh, so I thought I could get you the best one. I smiled. Mother was so considerate. I had almost got forgotten it was my 66th birthday. Scuttling over to Shaq, I dug in, starting with the head and going down. I ate and ate. My fat, my fat tasted great, but the other's fat tasted so much better, especially a world-renowned Antarctic legend like Shaq. I popped his eyeballs out and began munching. It tasted divine. Talking with food in my mouth, I said, "Thanks for the meal, Mother." Mom came by and said some stuff I can't remember. Also, I think it tried to get in the room. My mother snorted. "Yeah, good luck to it. I made this room with my own flesh, blood, and tears." I knew this was true, that the whole room was Mother. It wasn't just my room either. My mom might mean well, but Mother had my true best interests in mind. Leaning back to the hands and eyes that made up my sofa, I sighed and said, "Mother, what should I watch?" So was that Mother Horse Eyes too? Was that supposed to be like, is he in a and he is he in a flesh whatever Antarctic pit in uh and I almost wonder if they were one of the crustacean creatures in the Arcticus portal or whatever. Interesting. That was fun. I I feel like it was about the shack thing. Maybe Mother Horse Eyes in the Arcticus portal. Maybe they're like the crab slash whatever things. I don't know. Clearly, they're some type of creature. Um, but I think it's just fun. I don't think it's yeah, it's a meme story. It's a fun story. I'm not gonna really read into it too much more than that. Yeah, I had fun with it. I don't know what else to say about it. I was very confused by it too, but I had fun with it. And I liked the part about the mother being like, "You associate with H.P. Lovecraft, you," you know. That was fun. Stella, you're stuck under the table. I don't want you to get stuck under the table. You'll hit your head. Hi to the people. Yeah, it's a minefield of Creepcast references for sure. Yeah, if you know the lore, the average reader would be like, "What the?" I think the average reader would even be able to tell that there's just a lot of references to like hyper specific references. um, I think we've all read something where we've been like, "I'm clearly missing the joke or the bit about something here." All right, so next we have Thin Blueberry 4398. Hi, Roo. Say hi. She don't want to get up on the table. She just wants some. All right, so the earth stopped and now my cat won't stop floating. Luckily, we have a cat here. So this will help with the story, the floating cat. If I would have known this was going to be my last day alive, I would have smoked that last cigarette. Now, let me start off by saying it came very fast, a mere blink of an eye. Then I was awake. The earth had stopped completely. No rotation, no night day cycle. Everything was still, as was I. The next 5 days, I stood frozen at my open kitchen window, midday sun shining on my pale skin. I wanted to scream, cry, yell, anything, but I was stuck. But I was stuck. It was as if I was made of stone. Eventually, I was able to move my eyes, just from side to side at first, then up and down. With this, I was able to see. This I was able to see. I wasn't the only one frozen. Everything around me was. Birds paused in mid flight, trees stuck bent in the midday breeze. Eventually I could move my fingers, then toes. Um so are we thinking that time actually just stopped for 5 days? That's kind of where I'm going. I mean, it says the earth stopped, and clearly he's conscious during the time, but maybe time stopped too. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Eventually, I was able to move my eyes just from side to side at first, then up and down. With this, I was able to see. I wasn't the only one frozen. Everything around me was. Birds paused mid flight, trees stuck bent in the midday breeze. Eventually, I could move my fingers, then toes, arms, legs. My first free movements were painful, skin cracked and burnt from being in the sun for 6 months straight. It weeks for it took weeks for my skin to heal. Blood-soaked sheets littered my apartment, rags filled with pus lined the halls, but eventually I was healed. Now here I am, sitting in my apartment, trying to fathom what happened. Uh, yeah. Oh, interesting. Harold Sleeper says, well, if the Earth stopped rotating suddenly, everything would be thrown across the state from the force of stoppage. That makes sense. We're all moving at however many thousand miles an hour that the Earth is rotating, huh? So that's scary, huh? Yeah. Sitting in my apartment trying to fathom what happened. The world stopped. I mean, completely stopped. No movement of every kind. Except for Socks, my cat. Okay, the cat is named Socks. Okay. Except for Socks, my cat, who is now perpetually floating. Apparently, just before the world stopped, something spooked her. Now she's forever stuck floating in my living room. I eventually leave my apartment. Opening the door was like moving a solid stone tomb lid, sliding, sliding and creeping. Maybe that's what it meant. What what it was meant to be. A forever resting place. Well, whatever God, creator, or otherworldly being saw fit to let me traverse this frozen world. Okay. Oh, okay. I see. Oh, whatever God, creator, or otherworldly being saw fit to let me traverse this frozen world. I eventually make my way to a pizza shop down the road, a couple of blocks or so. On the way, I saw squirrels stuck on the sides of trees, a car wreck frozen in time, forever stuck inches away from the collision. I finally reach my destination, push my way into this sauce filled mausoleum, people sitting in chairs, still mid bite. Oddly enough, the pizza hasn't seemed to age at all. I grab a slice and take a bite. It felt like I was biting into a brick. That that eventually gave way once. I think it means to say once it was in my mouth. Yeah, once it was in my mouth, it was a normal bite of pizza. Come to think of it, I wasn't very hungry for being frozen in place for 6 months. Strange, of course, nothing really makes sense anymore. So all that happened about 5 years ago. Okay, so here's what I'm a little bit confused. I like the idea of being in a world where I mean, it says the Earth stopped, but for all intents and purposes, it seemed like time stopped. And for some reason, after 6 months or whatever it is, this person was able to slowly break their way out of it, and so they're the only person in this stopped time Earth. They're the only person that can kind of move around. Which that's an interesting concept. I just don't know why the story was like, as was I, for the next 5 days I stood frozen. So it's like I thought he was frozen for 5 days, right? He starts uh eventually I was able to move my eyes, blah blah blah, my first free movements for painful. And then it just says skin cracked and burnt from being in the sun for 6 months straight. So it's like, was he just stuck in place for 5 days and then slowly the time it took him to move was 6 months? And then at the 6 months mark, that is when he finally like walked around his house and started to heal or whatever. And then he went out for a normal bite of pizza or whatever. Um, Yeah, and that's kind of the other thing too. Is I was like, is it just trying to demonstrate that, yeah, that time doesn't, yeah, that time is arbitrary now, that it doesn't matter. He was standing for 5 days, but it was actually 6 months. But then he goes on to say the 6 month thing, and then we just get this time jump again. Strange, of course, that nothing really makes sense anymore. So all that happened about 5 years ago. Recently, I've been having some disturbing dreams, a dark presence and booming voice calling me, where I'm not entirely sure, but nonetheless it calls me, haunting my dreams, leaving me searching and wanting. Maybe I'm finally going to crack. Being alone for 5 years, maybe my mind is finally starting to unravel. Regardless, I think I'm going to go towards the wanting feeling to find this presence and this voice. Who knows? Maybe it will be the one who did this to the earth. I don't know, but it's not like I have anything else to do. Socks is still floating in the living room, though now she's 4 inches to the left. I moved her away from my television. I was able to get my old tube TV to function along with my PlayStation 2. Now I have DVDs, though in 2025 my selection is limited. I have watched Shrek 240 times. That's brutal. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the all one long paragraph is definitely intentional. Uh, I think the one long paragraph is intentional. And remember, this story was posted on my post calling for stories. So it was posted on there just as this one giant wall of text. And I don't know if it's like part of a larger narrative or if it's just a one off. I have no idea about that. Um, but yeah, so clearly what he assumes has been 5 years, right? It's like we don't really know for sure exactly how much time has passed, but he assumes it's been like 5 years because he's been watching Shrek 240 times. Honestly, I would just look at how long Shrek is, and I would just play Shrek nonstop and use that to count the time. Like I know you know, after 10, 10 times that Shrek plays, then it's nighttime, or whatever. Like I would just use Shrek to count the days. I have packed all my essentials, clothing, cigarettes, bathroom goods. I'm going to head north. That's where the feeling pulls me. It's been 3 months, or at least what I assume to be 3 months. With the day night cycle being frozen, it's hard to tell. Days pass, well, not really pass, but definitely time passes. I've trekked south from South Texas to Nevada. Kind of difficult when I can't seem to get any cars to run, but I was able to get a bicycle working. I feel like I'm being followed. Are there others who were able to move? I haven't seen anyone, but the feeling of being watched never escapes me. Okay, I'm definitely being followed. 2 days ago, I saw a freshly made fire pit. Someone or something was cooking. I think it was squirrels. Can't really be sure. The coals were fresh, though. Even if it's another human, hopefully there's some intelligent conversations to be had. Intelligent conversations to be had. 8 months into my journey, my pilgrimage, if you will, find this entity, my dreams have become more prevalent, more vivid, and lucid. I can see a giant castle surrounded by a city. Sun shines around the tallest spire, sparkling like a golden shrine, calling to me. The person who was following me was a small child. She's mute, or maybe just refuses to talk. I have taken to calling her Kennedy. She seems to respond to it. She's small, brown pigtails. She stays close to me now. We finally made our destination. I do not know this place. It was never talked about in school. Honestly, I've never even seen it on any map before. Kennedy seems excited. She's been more active. She was bouncing up and down yesterday, humming, the first sound she's made. The tune was familiar, reminiscent of something from my child. Oh shit, is he at Disney World? He says it's a castle, right? Or Disneyland, at least. Surrounded by a city, sun shines around the tallest spire, sparkling like a golden shrine. Okay, interesting. I can't quite put the tune reminiscent of something from my childhood. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's like a mix of Mary Had a Little Lamb and Rockabye Baby. It sends chills down my spine as we approach the entrance. I'm afraid this is our maker. Will he be proud of his creation? Will he be disgraced and disgusted of what stands in front of them? I do not know these answers, but I have no choice but to move forward into this castle with Kennedy. Kennedy runs down the aisle towards the throne. She climbs up onto the shoulders of the creature sitting on it. He uses he fuses back into its shoulder, a grotesque amalgamation of every known animal and human. The yellow mustard eyes look at me with slanted pupils. A guttural, screeching voice speaks to me. Why have you entered my domain? I stood stunned, not knowing what to say and unable to find my voice. I finally speak. You called me. The creature looks in my direction, pondering maybe. You must join me. Lie down and be enveloped by my mass. I try to back away, turning to run, but my feet are stuck in the carpet like quicksand. Quicksand. I struggle, but it was useless as I'm surrounded by the stick, bloody, fleshy mass. I scream, but it's blotted out. I have now become one with this creature. As the last bit of my own consciousness fade, I plead, if you're stuck on this still planet, do not follow the dreams or voice. Stay in your apartment with your floating cat. Watch Shrek and just be. I don't think, I think you can relate every story to Horse Eyes solely in some way. I think it's just one of those stories, but I don't think that this is necessarily, and I don't know if you were just kidding, but I don't think this is necessarily referencing a Mother Horse Eyes. I think it's just eldritch Lovecraftian being, but we also didn't get an answer about whether this being is what stopped the Earth, So, like, so I am kind of curious about that, but I think it was an interesting concept. I think, and I liked that the girl, whatever, was following him, but then turns out the girl was just a part of this being, maybe. So maybe it wasn't really like a little girl kind of the whole time. I think I think it's a cool concept for sure, and I think that, was it like scary? I mean, when you ponder the concept, I'd say you can evoke notes of horror, but I wasn't, you know, per se scared by it, and maybe that was just the writing style too. But like, I'd say it intrigued me. It interested me. Is it interesting? Another interesting short, but I kind of would have liked. I get it that the thing was calling him, and so he went to find out. But I kind of would have just liked seeing how because he went and got the pizza, right, and like ate it, and so that makes sense. But I kind of, I guess, would have liked to just seen more of the horror of a frozen in time world and like what that fully means for. Like it said, the cars didn't work. Okay, fine. So, but like just walking around, I would have liked to have seen more images of what people look like. And when he goes up to people, like they're not dead as far as I know. So like if he looks at them, like like can he see in their eyes any emotion? Like can he see people like struggling to move like he was? I don't know. Yeah, technically everything does lead back to Mother Horse Eyes. So yeah. Yeah, no, the I agree, the amalgamation element of it does yeah, it does relate to Mother Horse Eyes, but also Mother, I think Mother Horse Eyes probably calls to people too. I mean, she does, but the whole idea of it saying like the you must join me, lie down and be enveloped by me, by my mass. I mean that's a little crass for Mother. I think the Mother Horse Eyes like is so much more like it matters not. you will become part of me in time regardless. And now that there is no time, it has already happened. I think that's what Mother would say had it been like a Mother Horse Eyes esque deity that's like in hyper time and all this shit. But it's an interesting concept. I do think that, like I said, just the horror of everything being completely frozen was not like fully explored. Like it was within the apartment a little bit. We got the floating cat. We got you know, um, the squirrels and the birds stuck in the sky, but that really only scratched the surface. So I guess, you know, if I had a big note for the story, I would have been like explore more of just the scenes directly around the person, and with the time lapse thing and the being like it's 5 years, it's 6 months. I do think they were just trying to uh those were just kind of like guesses, and they were just trying to show that, like, yes, obviously some time's passed, and we know, like, when he says it's 5 years, we know it's been a lot of time, but we don't really know. But I don't really see why the narrator can't just come out and be like, I don't know how much time's passed. um I've watched Shrek 240 times. Like, I don't see the point in being like 5 years later, like with such certainty, when time isn't passing, you know? Unless they've really like calculated it, like we mentioned. Um yeah, so I thought that part was a little like, I don't know, like almost counterintuitive to like the point that the 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 scenario that the story puts the character in, like with the earth and time stopping. It's like, why then would you be like, so 3 days later I did this, even though it was daytime all the time, and blah blah blah. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then was it really three? I don't know. So that kind of threw me off, I guess, is kind of my point. But again, like I said, interesting concept. The monster at the end, or the being, the amalgamation, was fine. Was with slanted pupils, guttural screeching voice speaks to me. I was hoping that they went to Disney World, because it's such a surrealist, weird kind of story. I thought that they were gonna go to Disney World, and then, like, I don't know, like Walt Disney was gonna be reanimated or something. I was like, for some reason, I wanted that to happen. I don't know if that would have been better. I just, when it said the whole thing about a castle and like the sun shining through the tower and all that stuff, um, oh my god, my cat's floating right behind me. That'd be crazy. Then I'd have to be like, best story I've ever read, but if my cat was floating. But no, it's cool. I think that I'm curious to see if they just do this, if they just post these block texts around Creepcast and other places, like these just giant, walls of text, and if they're all, maybe they're connected, so maybe they are trying to do a Mother Horse Eyes thing in terms of the format, or maybe they're just posting single shorts that way. In which case, like that, it's cool. I get what they're doing, but um, yeah, I liked the concept more than I liked like the creature and the reveal at the end, I guess, is my main point. But yeah, it was fun, and I like the image of a cat floating. Of course, is obviously, for multiple reasons. I like it. I like cats. I think it's fun to see them float in the air. So here, on to Harold Sleeper, who I know's in the chat. So sorry I didn't get to your stuff sooner, but Oh, okay. I was like, don't I have a longer one? Which one, since you're here, Harold? Should I start with the short one, the last bus stop in Tobin, or should I start with the masterpiece? Because this one's like actually not long, but longer. You know. I don't know. Do you have a preference? I guess since you're here. Okay, shorter ones first. All right, I will do that then. So the first one we got is the last bus stop in Tobin, Pennsylvania. Here, I know I haven't been playing music. No worries. I know there's a delay. I count on it. I don't expect you to answer right away. you know, um, that's why I just kind of ask, and then whenever I see your comment, I'll respond to it. No worries. The last bus stop is in Tobin, Pennsylvania. Well, I will read it solely. So solely says next time you stream, please read Obsession. I will read it if you want me to, but are you gonna make a video on it? Because I do also like, if that's the case, then you know I don't necessarily want to read it before you do that, or I don't know. We can talk about it. We can message each other. I was gonna say, or if you want, we could read it together in a video for you, um, on your channel, and then we could clown on it together, and it'd be kind of a fun, because sometimes it's easier to read something that you write when you're doing it like with someone else. So I don't know, just an idea, but the last bus stop is in Tobin, Pennsylvania. We all clutched a little light in the darkness. Nice. Okay, hell yeah. We all clutched a little light in the darkness, the slow and smooth rumbling of the bus down an old, dusty highway, proving to be comfort when we didn't know what was up ahead. 4 hours in, the bus stopped by a sign, but we couldn't see the sign, and we all stared out into the vast darkness without making as much as a blink. We all stared out into the vast darkness without making as much as a blink. Nobody got off at the last stop. Proving to be a comfort. Couldn't see the sign. Hmm. The last bus stop is in Tobin, Pennsylvania. So are they dead? I mean, I'm also getting the sense that maybe they're blind. Because it says stopped by a sign, but we couldn't see the sign. And we all stared out into the vast darkness without making as much as a blink. Nobody got off at the last stop. Hmm. Interesting. I do kind of just like the idea of being on a bus, or you're on a bus with all these with a bunch of people, and you know that, like, oh, the last stop is coming up, and you're expecting like a bunch of people to get off, or most of the people to get off, and then everyone just stays on, and all of a sudden you're like, why, why is no one leaving this bus? They believe there is a sign and are frightened when they finally saw what was there. Yeah. Okay, I see that. Yeah, we all clutched a little light in the darkness. The slow and smooth. So I see that the line that we clutched a little light in the darkness, saying that like blind faith element down an old dusty highway, proving to be comfort when we didn't know what. Yeah, they didn't know what was up ahead. So because nobody got off at the last stop, yeah, Harold wrote this, but not a haiku. I don't write haiku. It's just a self-contained surrealist thing. No, and I get that. But it is short, and the way that the way that it touches on the the feelings without necessarily like it's similar, like some of your poetry. It was like you know it it reminds me not so much of a haiku, but it reminds me of like these poems or sayings where they're surrealist and they're not really supposed to make sense, but then until you get like the certain until it's at a certain time, or it's like at with a certain context, then it makes perfect sense. I'm thinking about like two roads diverged in the woods kind of poetry, but it's just kind of a surrealist scene. But yeah, but what I wanted to ask is, since nobody got off at the last stop, is that meaning to say that their hope or their faith was like misguided, and so we all stared out at the vast darkness without making as much as a blink? So yeah, because to me, yeah, I don't know. And if they get off, are they? There's nowhere to go, yet they simply remain on the bus. Okay, yeah, irony. Okay, interesting. Because yeah, I'm thinking that. Yeah, and it says that the rumbling of the bus down an old dusty highway proving to be a comfort when we didn't know what was up ahead. And then it's like almost like when they reach that last stop, all they're stuck with is that comfort of the rumbling bus. Interesting. Yeah, I guess what I like the most is It's similar to that plane Creepcast where they're stuck on the plane, but I like the idea of people being stuck on a bus, right? Um, and for some reason when they do finally stop, it's like no one can get off. And if they do get off, like maybe something bad will happen or whatever. I find that because what was kind of boring about the Creepcast story was that it was like we'll be landing in about an hour, and the dude's just stuck in the time prison hell. But like, could you imagine if you're on a plane or a bus, you're stuck on it, but then it keeps landing, but let's say it's the wrong stop or whatever else, and then it's just like everyone keeps just being like, well, we can't get off, or no one will let you off, kind of a thing. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Journal data entry. So, have you seen Robert Sampson? Missing Caucasian man, 5'8", 43 years old, muscular build, brown hair and eyes, aftershave. Last seen wearing a red and brown flannel shirt, orange Nike sneakers, charcoal gray pants with pleats. The Langoilers. Yeah, I haven't. I don't know that story, the Stephen King story. I wish I did. But yeah. Yeah, it's kind of just that like surrealist, like Twilight Zone esque thing. It's about it being uncanny and like surrealist, like you said. It's not so much about that like, oh, you're stuck in a bus that you're actually in hell or whatever. No, it's like no, it's not that. It's all these people stuck on a bus, and then when they finally make the last stop, you know, they can't get off, or they don't get off, and so yeah. Um, Charcoal gray pants with pleats. Last seen outside J&K Brooms, Tobin, Pennsylvania. Oh, so this is Tobin. Okay, so these are connected. See, and this was I was wondering. You write these really short things, and I've been wondering if some of them are connected. This one, last seen outside J&K Brooms, Tobin, Pennsylvania. Please report to Tobin Police Department if you possess any relevant information. And his eyes, the eyes, oh his eyes, such nice eyes. They looked at the searcher's boots from below, and they would laugh themselves dead if they could, because they could see them. Because they could see them, but them could not see they. And they watched as his mother cried because she would never again see they. And they could not cry too, because if they could, they would be alive. That's creepy. I like it. I like the begin. I like the. I think that's a great way to start any sort of a story or whatever, is just like missing, all this information, and then we get this creepy. Because does it or no? It does say his eye color: brown hair and eyes, aftershave. Last seen wearing a Nike sneakers, with pleats. Last seen outside J&K Brooms. Tobin, please report. Yeah, okay. Such nice eyes. Looked back at the searcher's boots. I assume that means a searcher searching for him from below, and they would laugh themselves dead if they could, because they could see them, but them could not see they, and they watched as his mother cried because she would never again see they, meaning him or his eyes, and they could not cry because if they could, they would be alive. Definitely creepy. Oh, the Langoliers is about people trapped in a time vortex on a plane. Yeah. Cool. Samson is dead. That's supposed to be the big reveal. But we have to wonder, is this the killer writing it? Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing that says aftershave, that throws me. That makes me think that it is somebody who, because that's not something normal that they would have on a description of people. It's like this person was close and personal with him. They smelled him. So the aftershave, and then last seen wearing a red, charcoal gray with pleats. Last seen out. Yeah. Yeah. So what is in your writing? You know, I don't know if Tobin, Pennsylvania is a real place. Maybe it is. Um, is Tobin a mysterious place in your works? Does it have any significance, or do you just have a few? Um, you just have a few stories that like reference it, you know, or is it like your dairy, you know what I mean, or your whatever? What's the place from H.P. Lovecraft and Niccolo Barton or whatever? Tobin isn't my ride. The stories are loosely connected, like Stephen King and Castle. Okay, yeah. Okay, fair enough. That's kind of what I was thinking, but I didn't, I didn't want to for sure just assume that it's connected and Stephen, yeah. Well, and I mean, I've recently learned that all Stephen King stuff is whatever through the Dark Tower series and other stuff, but it is all actually connected. And I mean, I think they're exploring that in the whatever Tales from Derry or whatever the new it TV show is. They're kind of exploring how it is like one of these whatever immortal beings that whatever is one of the beings that wants to attack the beams that hold up the tower, and the beams are like protected by these guardians in the Dark Tower series that the guardians are like failing or dying off, and so you get these creatures like it that I don't know if they're, I forget why it's in Derry. I think he just landed there like fucking like an alien, you know? Because he kind of is an alien. Right? I mean, he is and he isn't. He's an other dimensional being, but he's definitely like an eldritch, you know? The new It TV show is awful. It doesn't really explain anything we don't know. And it has nothing to do with the Dark Tower. I didn't necessarily think that the show did. I've just recently been watching like a lot of YouTube videos and stuff about breakdowns of the Dark Tower, and and I haven't watched the TV show obviously, but I've been watching a lot of videos about the Dark Tower series and about how how Stephen King's work is connected. And I'd heard that. I'd vaguely heard that it's actually all one extended universe, but I had never I wanted to at least know how, and people were like, "Well, how is the Dark Tower? Because the Dark Tower is the whatever the not the beam, but the thing that's at the center of all his realities, and all realities stem from it, and it's like the fulcrum." Yeah, that's what it was. And Pennywise is the son of the god from the Dark Tower, right? They retcon this in the TV show. Okay. Well, I mean, if you say it sucks, I'm probably not going to watch it. I wasn't planning on watching it really anytime soon anyways. I wasn't that interested. But I have been more interested in just Stephen King stuff recently. I've been either thinking that because I listen to audiobooks at work, and I've been either being like, oh, well, I kind of want to do the Dark Tower series because I know that there's a lot. And then also I was thinking about just listening to the Stand too. Because yeah, I just need long books, you know. So yeah, and I was like, well, I've read. Oh no, it wasn't a Stephen King. It was Joe Hill. I read Horns by his son, and so yeah, I want to at least, if not read physical copies of, just listen to more Stephen King stuff. YouTube horror stories is where it's at. Yeah, well, this is the only thing I have time to read in terms of, physically reading. I can listen to stuff, but all right, let's read the masterpiece. Gothic horror. So when I saw the tag Gothic horror, I got excited. I like Gothic horror, and yeah, and then I just wanted to find one that was maybe a little bit longer from you, Harold. So the masterpiece. Not many people know that there's a dead painter in my backyard. It's true. Something I tell my dinner guests when they have the capacity to visit. Okay, when they have the capacity to visit. Though this prompts them to collect their children away from the backyard, beneath which is buried a dead man, and scurry off into the night. Not a foot ever set back onto my property. It seemed not for many years. I once had a child come back to my property after he had grown, and he asked why his parents had collected him so hastily and prevented him from ever coming back to see me again. I once had a child come back to my property after he had grown, and he asked why his parents had collected him so hastily and prevented him from ever coming back to see me again. I told him what I already told you, and what I am about to tell you. There is a dead painter in my backyard, and you had traipsed upon his grave. And the painter never wanted anyone to do that, because he had made his grave and gravestone himself, molded from his paints and paintbrushes into a large spire protruding from the dirt, which he dug from before which he dug a large hole, then laid himself down in the hole and did himself in and away. And that spire is fragile, strong against the storm, but brittle to the touch of man. No matter how much a gentle countenance you may bear onto it, you may bear unto it. That weekend, the weekend he buried himself, there was a torrential storm, and the elements blanketed the painter with the dirt he had scrounged to the side of his grave. There were 2 mounds of dirt, one to its right, one to its flank, to account for the 6 feet of earth removed to make the painter's gate to hell. 6 feet and 2 miles, and they both individually seemed higher than 3 feet. They looked more like a stubby 4. The painter had been dead 4 days by that time which conditioned his body to become a loose assortment of rotting skin that decayed into a viscous, liquefied form when the rain struck it. By the time the dirt covered his whole body, only his legs, covered in brown fancy pants, had not been torn of its skin and turned into a skeleton. No one knew of the painter's corpse in my backyard except his mother, who had seen him dead in the hole and consequently lost every fiber of her sanity, never bringing herself to go back outside and bury her baby boy properly. And it was none other than I who was responsible for sending the poor thing to the sanitarium down by the port. She, confined behind whitewashed walls, let God and Mother Nature do the thing she was too mad to do, and bury her son. When time came to pass the house on, empty houses make great ghosts after all, I bought it for myself, from the painter's mother, for nothing more than meager pennies on the dollar. Too much of a pittance to the woman to definitely not serve a profit, but enough to make a considerable chip in my I don't know that word. In my pecuniary goings on. Okay, financial.
Pecuniary.
Yeah, pecuniary. Okay, I got it right. I just didn't know if I was pronouncing it right, but in my pecuniary goings on. After such, I did the most humanly thing possible and fathered 5 children within the house. One for a different wife. Oh, damn. One for a different wife. None of them, children and wife, stuck around much long after I told them, "Honey, we've got a dead painter in our backyard." I haven't seen the children they took with them to wherever they chose to go. Haven't seen them in up to 22 years. Their lives are much too gone now to be mine to see. I never went outside to unbury the mound that now bulges slightly in my backyard. Take steel to the little rise that takes from near my petunia garden, as if the earth itself sprouted a low pimple near a flush of beard. It is not enough of a mound to bother flattening, though proves enough of a nuisance that I do trip and fall over it as I see more time pass and kill my bones. The painter was a friend. I cherished him more than his own father, a wretched bastard who made him a bastard. Anyway, I have died enough that I cannot do anything myself anymore without hired assistance, because that pecuniary hole still hasn't entirely closed, still bleeds. Look out to the spire. It's faded, its colors now gray and dim. Out by the tree line, it's conspicuous enough, with enough of a foot into the past that, with a little strain from easement, you can see it, pronounced against the dark bark. Pronounced against the dark bark. Beneath it, though, offset in front of it a foot, are the remains of a dead painter, dead friend. I believe that if you dig up his bones, there in the dirt they will be, and absorbed into the dirt will be all the paint he consumed to kill him. When I'm dead and gone, you can go and unbury him if you so like. I regret enough not burying him that I would never unbury him consciously, never as long as I am driven by my remaining moral fiber. When I give up this house, you will be the only person to decide for my painter friend. Do you leave him to peace, or do you do the proper thing, wake him up, violate his home space, give him God's proper burial, God's proper send-off? Though his slumber has been 50 years going? Now, for me, think of it if you must, but never enact upon it. If you are so compelled, just go over and stick a sign in the ground, stick a knife in his door, or paint over the painted words of the painter's name up on the spire. Name up on the spire, around and to its back. If you so wish to demean his masterpiece, repaint this house. Paint my coffin red before you paint it blue. But you don't repaint the strokes of an artist's signature. You let it pronounce its worth, and let its worth pronounce it. If it has worth, it will stay and keep its eye on us. If it has none, then I believe you can muster enough intelligence to find out what happens thus. And two, when you bury me far from my friend, next to my mother, not my father or my children. Both had lived lives I don't want to hear about, and am not obligated to know any more. In heaven, I would still like to rest my head on my mother's lap and let out 70 years a sigh. I do not know what compelled the death of my friend. I don't want to meet him in heaven. I want his spire and his memory, not never the truth that led to either. That was fun. Creepy, cool. The narrator's kind of a dick. But I kind of agree to leave the painter, because I think that's really the only, it's creepy images and all that stuff, but I think that's really the thing that this story asks you to ask yourself is, do you leave the painter? Do you dig him up and rebury him? Or do you let him have his last work of art, so to speak? Do you let his you let his art stand, or do you tear it up? Do you paint over it? Do you do you burn his books, so to speak? Like, and I think this, I don't like our narrator. Our narrator doesn't really just seems like a creepy guy who really only cares about the painter being dead in his backyard and maybe his mother, and really seems to just take a lot of joy in that, which I guess if it was his friend and stuff, I guess it kind of makes sense, but he also kind of like stole the house from his mom too. So yeah, our narrator's definitely not not a nice man. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I like the image. I like the idea of, I mean, just burying yourself is definitely crazy, but then the whole idea of like making your own tombstone and like just all that stuff is like like I've heard this sentiment from old people where they're like, don't bury me or whatever, like land is for the living, or stuff like that. But I also think that like I kind of support this guy just like burying himself in his mom's backyard. It's kind of fucked up to do to his mother, don't get me wrong. Yeah, total BS. I mean, yeah, there's no whatever, exploding pedophiles, as the boys on Creepcast said. But no, it's about what's the scary experience of it is the aesthetic. And obviously this guy is creepy. Like, this narrator is a creepy guy. So that is just BS on its surface. But then that whole image of the painter burying himself and creating his own tombstone and like all that stuff, like that is, and that story of him, whatever, dying and his skin rotting and the images of it, um it's obviously fucked up. And then the mom being slapped in the sanitarium, it's all scary. But I think what's maybe the most like dreary or um like melancholy about the whole thing is that like ultimately he was creating a work of art, kind of, that he wanted, if not to be remembered by, then it, to just exist in the backyard. Like, he didn't want to be disturbed, from what it sounds like. And so it's this whole idea of like, because there are some people that are like, like if I die, like there's people now who have like natural graves where they just like get placed back in the earth. But there's a lot of people who don't want to be like embalmed and shit. But then there's all these laws or this or that where they're like, oh no, you have to, or you have to be cremated. And it's like, what if I just want to dig a fucking hole on my property, go in it, drink some paint or whatever he did, pass out in the hole, die in the hole, and then wait for the storms to cover me, like, or have somebody else fucking fill the hole in, pay somebody to come, a week from whenever and fucking throw the dirt on me, um, and yeah, I think in some ways I'm like, yeah, I think, I mean, your life is ultimately, yours to do what you want with. So I think that should extend to your death too, I don't think there should be, yeah, as long as you're not like, send my body to a school of, kindergartners, or put me, I want to be paraded on the steps of City Hall. Like I don't think that everyone has that right with their dead body, but I do think people can do stuff. So for positive, thank you for, yeah, Harold, of course. Thank you for the positive. I think I might publish this in some horror magazine. Uh Maybe this online magazine called The Dark. I think it's worth it. I mean, I guess the only thing I would say, like, if you're looking to publish it, is, um, I don't know, is the story more about the painter, or is it about the guy who lives with the painter? And uh, are people, um, like all the people who come to his house, as he says, and then he tells them about the painter? Like, does he do that because he's proud of his friend? Does he do that because he just likes to scare people? I don't know. I just, like, I do have questions still and stuff, and like I don't know. I'm just wanting it to be maybe be expanded a little bit more, but I think it's a cool story as is. I just think that like with the boy coming back, years later and all that stuff, I'm thinking like, yeah, maybe there's a chance for some creepy like interactions like that where, you know, um yeah, just for this guy to like show his creepy assholeness off more. I don't know if that makes sense. The narrator, the painter, and to what end is he telling the story? This is the intent of the story. Yeah, and I got that. Like, I mean, obviously I asked it, but I guess by the thing, I mean, the reason I asked is because I got the sense that it's kind of about both, right? It's not really about one or the other. And in some ways, I think our narrator kind of like stole his, because he stole the house, right? He put his mom in a thing. Uh, he kind of stole his, maybe not his life, or maybe he did. Maybe he convinced him to do this, right? We don't know. Maybe the narrator isn't just, he's proud of the grave, right? Because he talked his painter friend into doing this. And it's kind of a symbol of his whatever, his mastery over his friend or what, like. So yeah, it's cool. It's definitely worth, like expanding on or just publishing as is even. But yeah, I'll certainly think about it for a little while. And then also, like, whether or not, let's say, the narrator took advantage of this painter in order to steal the house and send his mother away and steal his money. It's like, still, even if that's the case, do you still want to disturb the grave because it's the painter's last, even if he was misguided or manipulated into doing it, it's still his last like statement as an artist. So do we take that away from him? I don't know. I don't know what the moral thing is. I don't think I have enough information to really pass like a moral judgment about that. I do think that there's a good chance that our narrator really just screwed over the painter, and he calls him his friend because he probably was his friend in life, but I think he kind of calls him my friend in jest. I think he doesn't really give a shit about him. I think he only cares about the fact that he's got his dead body in his backyard and he likes that. um, so yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, Rude Dude says, I think the creep factor can definitely be turned up a little bit. Obviously, you don't need to add a creepy creature or anything too crazy. No, and that's kind of what I meant with, like, I would like to see, like, maybe an interaction maybe that interaction with the boy who comes back expounded on, or like maybe one of these meetings where he has people over, like where he has people over and then he gets to the point where he tells them. Maybe there's just a chance for some like creepy, maybe they're all having dinner and they're all telling each other like ghost stories or creepy things that have gone on in the town, and then the narrator could be like, so pleased with himself because he knows he has a trump card, and he could tell everyone and they could like not believe him, and then he could go and show them the grave, and then they all fucking freak out and run out of the house or something. I don't know. Yeah, no, and it is poetic in some places, and I think that's part of the choices that like Harold made with our narrator's perspective, is he's being kind of he's being more poetically minded than just speaking matter of factly and being like, my friend was really depressed. He wanted to be a great artist, but he never, blah blah blah. Like had he just been more matter of fact, I think the story would have lost some of its mystique, But it's very the poetic element of the writing and the gothic, like whatever older antiquated nature of it is like, it's part of its charm, and then it's also part of how the narrator manages to stay like in this weird area of like um not fully outing himself or fully outing like the situation in any way, and just being like, repaint this house, paint my coffin red before you paint it blue. But you don't repaint the strokes of an artist's signature. You let it pronounce its worth, and let its worth pronounce it. If it has worth, it will stay and keep its eye on us. If it has none, then I believe you can muster enough intelligence to find out what happens thus. So he's kind of being like, later, Sully. Yeah, it's kind of, like he's doing some like whimsical kind of not even like wordplay, but I don't know, maybe in some way it is wordplay, that he's skirting a line, right? That you get that sense that throughout this whole story he's trying to tell you that almost that he killed this guy without telling you that he killed him. You know what I mean? And he's trying to say that if you move him or if you disturb him at all, then you're really, uh defeating or trampling on his memory, and he's going that way. He's kind of taking it that way, which is, it's clever and it's very interesting. It's very like Roger, what is it? The Murder of Roger Ackroyd-esque, in that story, the narrator is the killer, but obviously you don't find that out, spoiler, till like the very, very end. And it's a good book because, I mean, Agatha Christie obviously is one of the goats for writing mystery and horror, or mystery in particular, but it is kind of interesting because like throughout the story you get the sense that like you're not being told everything, or that the author's being like willfully ignorant about certain things, because Perot keeps going, I mean, Pro always kind of does this, but he keeps always going in like the opposite direction, and you're like, wow, he's really covered everything, and it doesn't seem like he's any closer to finding the killer. And then right at the end, you figure out that, oh, that's because the killer was the author, and the author was purposely leaving things out, because it was pointing to him, sort of a thing, and so it's kind of this fun thing. And I kind of get this similar vibes from this story, the masterpiece. And is it his masterpiece, or is it the dead painter's masterpiece, or is it our narrator's masterpiece? I think that's a question too we have to ask ourselves. But it's fun. I think this is a story too that it's so short, but you could reread it, I think, and maybe get more out of it, maybe start to like glean. Because I think the more I think about it, the more I'm leaning towards, I think this dude probably killed him, and that's why he takes such joy in it. I couldn't see him taking such joy in an artist just burying himself, even if it was his friend, and the artist was like, a dedicated artist who just wanted his last work of art to be his suicide or whatever. Yeah, it's fun. I think it's fun. I think it's interesting. I do think, Harold, I mean, obviously you're a skilled writer, and you probably know best what you want to do, but I do think you should consider maybe expanding parts, just because, yeah, I think that maybe there's a little bit more creepy things, like we said, like a little bit more spots for some creep, and a little bit elements to add. And it kind of rushes through, like at the beginning, when it's talking about like, this prompts them to collect their children away from the backyard, and scurry off into the night, which we get that image, but it's like, I almost would like it if the story kind of started with like, oh, like I was having a dinner party and it was a lovely affair, and then we got on the subject of, old houses and what horrors have happened in them. And I, played my trump card, blah blah blah. I don't know. I just think maybe it's worth thinking about, but I don't know. It's just my opinion. It's not like a necessity or whatever. I think it's a good story regardless. Um, but yeah, I think, what time is it? 9:28. How long have I been streaming for, guys? Do we know? Does anyone know? 2 hours and 28 minutes. Pretty short stream, but I was kind of hoping it would be a short stream, with these shorter stories. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a good one. I think this was fun. Hopefully, uh, in the future we can pepper in more of the. I can do like, maybe two kind of longer stories peppered in with like three or four short ones, so that way I can cover kind of a lot of authors. I don't know, Harold, when I'll cover another one of your stories, but I know you sent me a lot of links, so I feel kind of bad because I don't know if you're expecting me to cover all of them or just pick and choose or whatever. But I also feel like I need to cover all the other writers who have commented on my post too. So I think it'll probably be a while before I get back to one of your stories. Yeah, short and sweet, just like the stories, exactly. I think it'll probably be a little bit before I cover one of your stories again. But if you have, like, feel free to, message me or keep messaging me on Reddit. And if there's like one in particular that you're like, hey, could you please check this one out? Then, I'll be more than happy to do it. Cause yeah, I mean, I covered, yeah, no rush. Yeah, well, and that's what I hope. Like, I always feel bad when people go out of the way to or to message me and then they send me multiple things. It's like I do want to get to them, and yours are for the most part pretty short from what I can tell. So it's like I don't know, or maybe I should just do a Harold Sleeper stream where I just do a deep dive and read them all. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I have a longer story I'll post soon. I'm editing right now. Well, yeah, definitely let me know then when that is posted. Because I'd be interested in checking that one out. Did I read right too that you're a ghostwriter or you were a ghostwriter? Am I wrong about that? I feel like I read that after go for various television projects for numerous years. I didn't know that television projects had ghostwriters. I mean, I assume they have like multiple writers, and sometimes people write for TV that aren't necessarily like credited or something. But that's interesting. That just I remember seeing that on your bio and going like, oh shit. I bet you've got some stories, huh? I bet you've got, and that's and I wanted to say, reading this, he now pursues an independent career under his own name. He posts stories to Reddit as a way to brain dump. Um, and I like that. I meant that I wrote a script for someone else. Okay, and someone else. Okay, I see. Okay, that and someone else took credit. Well, that sucks that that happened to you. That's bullshit. But I think that's awesome that you're pursuing an independent career under your own name. I think that, shout out to you. I think, I think like I think the world always needs more writers. I don't know if the world needs more ghost writers or, whatever else. Like I like when people um, put themselves out there, So yeah, shout out to you. I just at the end I just remembered that as I was talking to you. I was like, huh. No, that makes sense now. After, yeah, okay. Scripts. I mean, I can't say what projects though. Yeah, understandable. I'm not trying to pry. I was more just trying to say that I think it's cool that you're um putting out your stuff under your name. I think that's shout out to you for doing that. And yeah, I think I like your kind of style. How like you said how you use you're not like you're posting longer stuff, yes, and you have plans to post this longer story, but it's like I like the idea of just posting like quick concepts or quick kind of you know one paragraph long of like a surrealist, almost like a dream, you know, uh, kind of a short. I think that that's cool, and a lot of I think that's different than what a lot of other horror writers or whatever do. I feel like a lot of them, do so my name is blah 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 and I'm stuck in a haunted theme park or this or that, and it's like yeah, it's just different, which I like that it's like I could go to Harold's profile and I could see a poem, or I could see a missing persons report, or I could see a whatever, and it might all be connected in some way somehow, but you don't really know. And it's kind of like I feel like as you gain readers and stuff, like it'll be fun for people to kind of parse through and kind of figure out like, oh, is this just an idea that he had about something, or is this just a quick little poem, or is this like is this connected to something else? We don't know. And I think that that's fun. I think that you've got a nice mis mysterious countenance going to your profile. And it's definitely fun, So, and you use the word countenance in a story, which I always like to shout out people. I love, like a classic Edgar Allan Poe type story, and that last story certainly scratched that itch for me. So I like when a story, when a story does that. I think that as much as I love unpolished creepypasta, I also love the really polished literature, Legati type stories like they read on the Creepcast and the Nick Lowe stuff. I think both are great. So thank you, sir. And thank you to everyone. Thank you to uh Intrepid Sprite again, and Affectionate Leave, obviously, for the thumbnail art. That's so, I'm so, just grateful. And I really just hope to, keep reading stories and keep kind of building up. And hopefully, you guys will come back and read stories with me and discuss them. And I'm hoping to get, like, Rude Dude. Hopefully we can chat sometime soon on Discord, and maybe get together and read some stories too or whatever, cuz I think that I definitely liked reading my story a lot more with Professor Creepin, and I know that I would love to have people to discuss the story, to discuss each story with. It's great doing it with you guys in the chat, but if I had someone live, I just think it would keep the streams fresh. If I had guests and stuff every now and again, I think it'd be a way of just adding a different perspective, and um, you know, seeing different things in the same story. So yeah, I'm certainly open to that. And yeah, I don't have too much else. I guess the one thing I was gonna say is, so if you go to on Tales from the Creep and calling all authors, if you're a fan, if you're someone who watches my stream and you've looked at this post and there's a story that you think sounds cool that you would like to see me cover next, let me know, because we have so many to go through here, and I hope that I can get through all of them on my own. Maybe not every single story, but at least one story from each author. And if I can't, I can't. But I'm gonna be doing this for the foreseeable future, and so I don't see why not. I don't see why I can't. Uh, cool, Harold. Yeah, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot. I know me and Rude Dude have known each other for a while. Me and you have just kind of started talking, but yeah, I'd totally be down for that. I think that would be awesome if you wanted to come on the stream, or just and even if I just read the stories, then you just listen, follow along, and chime in when you have stuff to contribute. Like, that's fine too. I don't expect people to um you know read aloud necessarily. I more just am saying that I like when we can get a dialogue going, and have differences of opinion, and have different interpretations of stuff. But yeah, so if anyone has a story that they see on here that they want me to read, let me know. Um, and then also just make sure, everybody, that we keep Tales from the Creeps going strong, and also that we make it. The fact that they banished us from the regular subreddit, okay, fine, I get it. It's fine. I'm not gonna. Do I fully agree with it? I don't know, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna keep looking forward, and I'm gonna it's gonna be my one of my goals to just make Tales from the Creep so good that and so have so much good shit on it that like obviously hopefully that Creepcast that they still pull stories from it and read from it, but also just that it just becomes a good place for horror, on Reddit in general. Another no sleep refugee haven. We need safe havens for no sleep refugees, and I think Tales from the Creeps could certainly be or should be that place. And it's going up. We've got like 3,000 contributors now uh, for Tales from the Creep. Uh, Love to see some guests on your stream. Yeah, like I said, I did the one with Creepin' and it went well. And and so I think I could keep doing it and you know have it still be fun and whatever. But yeah, how many? Okay, six. Yeah, so 6,000 members is not bad for something that's only about like a week or two old. So yeah, I'm excited. I think now that we just have our own subreddit and it's finalized and it's one that Isaiah and Hunter have said like this is the writer subreddit, this is the story subreddit. I think that's good because now you know there will still be other writing subreddits, but now when it comes to people that really want want to either try to get their writing seen by Creepcast, or just want to write amongst a community of people who are also fans of Creepcast, because then maybe they'll get the humor of their stories, or they'll get kind of what they're going for in terms of like the tone of a story because they can relate it to some other story that's been on the show. I think that's helpful, especially for new writers. So, yeah, I'm determined to just full steam ahead and make this kick ass subreddit for writers, but also just new writers, just anybody who's interested in writing in the horror genre at all. Yeah, hopefully it can rival No Sleep just without the power tripping mods and without the silly rules. And do I ever think it'll get up to 8 million or whatever? Probably not, but I think that No Sleep had the benefit of being there at the right time, and for a time it was the heyday, but there can always be a renaissance. And one of the main reasons I'm doing my channel the way I am is because I immediately, pretty soon, I found out, like after listening to Creepcast, I was like, this is gonna want to make people write stories. Like I knew there would be a sort of a resurgence or an insurgence of people picking up their pens, their phones, whatever, and writing stories. And I think ultimately, when you have people who maybe wanted to write at one time or have written in the past but haven't done it in a long time and stuff like that, I think when you have something that inspires a lot of people to do something that otherwise, they might not do, I think it only leads to like some really kick ass art and some really you know new badass stuff. So I was like, I obviously wanted to be a part of it, but um yeah, I think that it's just important that we keep continuing to. That was one thing I didn't like about the Creepcast subreddit, is they just be like, so many people posting stories and I don't like it. And I'm like, it's really important that we encourage these people and not shame them for posting a story, even if they post stories a lot, or even if, like whatever, it doesn't matter. we need to encourage this, because without more people, we're not going to have that next great episode of Creepcast. Eventually, they're going to run out of stories. Or eventually, they're going to, you know what I mean? We need there needs to be a constant new flow of people trying it in order to get the in order to keep the horror genre alive, the online horror genre alive, you know? I mean, it just simply, yes, there have already been a million billion stories written, but art, it's like, okay, well, there's already been a million paintings and drawings done. So should all the people on the Creepcast subreddit, should all of them stop making fan art and stuff because there's already a lot of fan art? No, they shouldn't. They should all keep doing it. So the same way we should all keep writing. And so, sorry, that's just kind of my rant. I like to do that at the end of the stream. I like to go on a bit of a tangent, bit of a rant. But yeah, I appreciate you. Um, Rude Dude, Harold, Sully, anyone else who stopped by to watch. Please make sure that you're going on Tales from the Creep and reading people's stories, and more importantly, commenting on their stories, giving them specific feedback, things you like, things you thought could be better. Always be respectful, but specific feedback goes a long way. It helps people to know um that you actually read their story and you actually thought about their story. Because it's one thing if somebody reads it and just says, oh, it's good, but they want to know that you're actually thinking about their story and that it actually evoked something in you. So make sure you're upvoting, but more importantly, commenting and sharing stories, that you like. And yeah, just make sure that we all keep supporting each other. That's what'll make this community great. So, and yeah, I think that's gonna do it for me. Do I have any? Um, I do still want to say that I've been getting the all the new fan art and stuff, and that's cool. But I do want to come up with like my channel colors, so that if I get any more fan art, I can have people draw different things and stuff too, and maybe get the masks, the Red Death mask, the comedy and tragedy masks, maybe get them different colors too. And so yeah, I'm open to suggestions on that. But anyways, that'll do it for me, guys. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm getting tired. So peace out. Thank you, friends and fiends, for watching the Red Death Mask stream. Adios, amigos. Um, Merry Christmas. It's almost Christmas. Go, you know, go, go buy some coal and yeah, and give it to somebody who is naughty, because Santa won't do it. He's a puss.